Now, we all know for a fact that differences in air pressure is caused by the unequal heating of the Earth's surface. So we know for a fact that the equator receives more heat from the sun than the polar regions. So the air above the equator is heated more, causing the air to become less dense. And when the air becomes less dense, the air becomes lighter, so heated air rises, creating a low pressure area. And we know for a fact that as the air is heated, it brings a lot of moisture. And this will trigger the formation of clouds and precipitation. So an area of low pressure is always equated with stormy weather. Now at the poles, we have cold air. Now cold air is denser, so cold air sinks, creating an area of high pressure. And cold air brings little moisture. So this region of high pressure is always associated with clear, good, fair weather. Now this difference in pressure, high pressure and low pressure, will cause air to move. And this is what we call winds. Okay, so everybody, I want you now to take a look at this diagram. So there are places wherein the earth receives more heat from the sun, like the equator. And at the poles, the earth receives little heat. So as the equator is heated, the heated air becomes less dense. So this heated air rises, and this will create an area of low pressure. And as the air is heated, it brings a lot of moisture. So this moisture will trigger the formation of clouds. Clouds would bring rain. That is why an area of low pressure is always associated with stormy, bad weather. Now at the poles, the air is cold, and cold air is more dense, or the air is heavier. So cold air sinks, creating an area of high pressure. And cold air brings very little moisture. So that means there's little chance for clouds to form. So a high pressure area is always associated with fair and good weather. And this difference in pressure will cause the air to move from a region of high pressure to a region of low pressure. So this movement of air is what we call as wind. So to further illustrate this movement of air or wind due to differences in air pressure, let's take a look at this diagram of the circulation of air inside a room. Alright, so can you see that radiator at one corner of the room? So that radiator heats up the air. The heated air becomes less dense, so that heated air rises, so it creates an area of low pressure at that corner of the room. And as the warm air rises, it nears that window at the other corner of the room. So eventually the air cools and it becomes more dense, or it becomes heavier, so that cool air sinks. And at that corner of the room near the window, that creates an area of high pressure. So the movement now of air inside the room would be from a region of high pressure, which is near the window, to an area of low pressure near the radiator. So that's the general movement of air inside the room, from high pressure to low pressure. And that's what we call a convection cell. Now that is really fascinating about the general circulation of air inside a room. Plus also we know from the previous lesson that the passage of a low pressure area is usually associated with unstable conditions and stormy weather, because we know that heated air packs a lot of moisture. As the air rises, it creates a low pressure area, and that heated air contains a lot of moisture that may trigger the formation of clouds and precipitation or rain. Now, on the other hand, fair weather can usually be expected with the approach of a high pressure system. So a high pressure area is always associated with good fair weather, because we know that cold air contains very little moisture, so there is little chance for clouds to form. So an area of high pressure is always associated with fair and good weather condition. Now,